Back to the news at 4. Guilty on all counts. It took just 7 hours of deliberations over 2 days for 12 men and women to seal Lori Vallow Daybell's fate. After 4 years, they just found the Eastern Idaho mom guilty of 6 counts, including murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and theft in connection to the deaths of 2 of her kids, JJ and Tylee, and her husband's late wife, Tammy Daybell. We have team coverage. Shira Matsuzawa wraps up what JJ's grandpa, Larry Woodcock, had to say after court today. We'll get to her in just a moment. But first, Morgan Romero is live at the Ada County Courthouse with how the afternoon unfolded. Morgan?
Doug, 12 men and women hand down Lori Vallow's guilty verdict just before 1 o'clock this afternoon. That verdict, as it has to be, was unanimous. It comes after about 6 weeks and nearly 60 witnesses, and at times really horrific and gruesome evidence in this case. Today, around the courthouse, everyone was filled with anxiety and anticipation ahead of that verdict being read. Many people, including reporters, were shaking. We all sort of felt like we had knots in our stomach, and that includes the lead detective in this case, Ray Hermosillo, with the Rexburg Police Department, who's been following this case since the beginning. Shira and I saw him pacing the hallway on the 4th floor of the courthouse with the lead prosecutor in this case, Rob Wood, anxiously, again, anticipating that verdict coming down. The judge told everyone inside the courtroom not to react loudly, not to make a scene, to keep order in the court while the verdict was being read. But outside the courthouse, it was a different story.
The defendant would please rise.
We, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn to try the above entitled action for our verdict, unanimously answer the questions submitted to us as follows. Question number 1. In regards to count 1 of the amended indictment, is Lori Noreen Vallow not guilty or guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Tylee Ryan and grand theft by deception? Answer, guilty. Not guilty or guilty of first-degree murder of Tylee Ryan? Answer, guilty. Is Lori Noreen Vallow not guilty or guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Joshua Jackson Vallow and grand theft by deception? Answer, guilty. Is Lori Noreen Vallow not guilty or guilty of first-degree murder of Joshua Jackson Vallow? Answer, guilty. Is Lori Noreen Vallow not guilty or guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Tammy Daybell? Answer, guilty. Is Lori Noreen Vallow not guilty or guilty of grand theft? Answer, guilty.
Life sentence, Lori. Yeah.
I asked a source close to the prosecution if at any point they thought jurors might not convict Lori and find her guilty of murdering her kids. This source told me prosecutors always go into a trial nervous about what the jurors are going to believe in their case, but they feel their case was solid. They are really grateful with the way it turned out. The prosecution is not doing any on-camera interviews right now because of Chad Daybell's pending trial set for next summer. However, they did send out a statement saying that they're committed to pursuing justice for the victims. They said Madison and Fremont County prosecutors are very pleased with the jury's verdict, and we want to thank them as well as the alternates for their service over the last 6 weeks during this trial. They also thanked countless law enforcement and community members who worked tirelessly to hold Lori accountable. Many onlookers, as you just heard, cheered once all 6 guilty counts were read. Rhonda Shields cried. She's followed this case since the kids were reported missing in November of 19. She went to school in Rexburg, and she has deep connections there.
I think because I'm a mom, and I'm emotional anyways, but I just think there was so much question and so much circumstantial evidence, and we didn't know for sure whether she was going to be found guilty. So I think when she did, on all counts, it just was overwhelming, and I think it just kind of came out my eyes, and then watching the grandparents and listening to them and their gratitude, and it's been long and ugly, and it just is a beautiful thing to see justice actually being served.
The verdict came down quickly. Jurors started deliberating around 2 p.m. yesterday after closing arguments from both sides and went for more than 4 hours last night. They deliberated for only about 3 hours this morning. The jury decided what the facts are based on the evidence presented over the last several weeks, including witness testimony, and then they had to apply it to Idaho law. They determined the state proved beyond a reasonable doubt all of the crimes happened. To be found guilty of first-degree murder in Idaho, the jury did not have to believe Lori physically killed JJ, Tammy, or Tylee, just that she told someone or encouraged someone to kill any or all the victims. During closing arguments yesterday, the prosecution said the evidence is clear. Lori was involved. Lori never reported her own kids missing, and she continued to collect money the kids were receiving. Prosecutors closed the same way they opened, telling jurors this case is about money, power, and sex. So what comes next? Fremont County has to transport Lori from Ada County to their county, considering the crimes occurred there. She's also going to be sentenced in Fremont County in about 3 months. At that point, she could spend the rest of her life behind bars. We were also standing in this very spot earlier as JJ Vallow's grandparents, Kay and Larry Woodcock, came outside, talked to the media. Larry even singing some of JJ's favorite songs. Today, Doug, has been full of mixed emotions for them, as you can imagine.
Yeah, and we're going to get to much more on that right now, Morgan. Thank you for wrapping up everything that happened today. And since that verdict was read, reaction has been pouring in from those who have been following the case in their own time to those who have been working on the case, but also the family. My co-anchor here on the News at 4, Shira Matsuzawa, joins us now with a look at that. Some emotional moments from
Emotional
families.
moments, definitely, and then Morgan just alluded to it, but this has been a long time in the making.